There is going to be a vote in the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow whether or not to authorize subpoenas to demand an unredacted version of the Mueller report and all of the background materials. If they do vote out the authority for subpoenas, will the White House fight that?
Well, I think it's ridiculous. We went through 2 years of the Mueller investigation. We have, I mean, not only that, you read the wording, it was proven. Who could go through that and get wording where it was no collusion, no nothing? So there's no collusion. The Attorney General now and the Deputy Attorney General ruled no obstruction. They said no obstruction. And so there's no collusion, there's no obstruction, and now we're going to start this process all over again? I think it's a disgrace. These are just Democrats that want to try and demean this country. And it shouldn't be allowed. And I'll totally live by what the Attorney General, I have great respect for the Attorney General, I'll live by what he says, but I will tell you this. Nothing you give them, whether it's Shifty Schiff or Jerry Nadler, who I've known, he's been fighting me for half of my life in Manhattan. And I was very successful, thank you. But Nadler's been fighting me for years and years in Manhattan, not successfully. I will tell you, anything we give them will never be enough.
What about the fact
we could give them, it's a 400-page report, right? We could give them 800 pages, and it wouldn't be enough. They'll always come back and say, it's not enough, it's not enough. This thing has gone on for 2 years, and really it started long before that. It practically started from the time I came down the escalator, because this was a whole plot. Whether you want to use the insurance policy as a time frame, this was an insurance policy just in case Hillary Clinton, loses. Well, she lost, and she lost big. This has been going on for years. Now they want to keep it going on. We had, they spent over $30 million on an investigation. They found no collusion, which, by the way, was the most ridiculous premise I've ever heard of anyway, and you understand exactly what I mean. No collusion. There was no collusion. There never was. After $30 million, we're going to start this process again because Jerry Nadler wants to start it or because Schiff wants to start it. I'll rely on the Attorney General to make decisions, but I will tell you, anything that's given to them will never be good enough. You could give them the more documents that they've ever seen, and it would never be good enough. So I think it's somewhat of a waste of time. This is just politics at a very low level.
What about the fact that Congressman Nadler opposed the release of the Starr report in 1998?
Well, that's a good thing. It's very nice that you bring that up. The fact is that Jerry Nadler was on the opposite side of this, and he thought it was a disgusting, terrible thing to even think about giving the Starr report. But now we should give the Mueller report. And actually, the Mueller report is actually much tighter because the Starr report went to Congress. The Mueller report goes to the Attorney General. So there's a big difference. They made that because the Starr report got out of control with respect to going to Congress, because I guess lots of people had it that maybe shouldn't have had it and did bad things with it. So now they limited it to the Attorney General, and they did that specifically for that reason. So Jerry Nadler thought the concept of giving the Starr report was absolutely something you could never do. But when it comes to the Mueller report, which is different on our side, that would be something that he should get. It's hypocrisy and it's a disgrace. I will say this, look. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction. They were very disappointed. I don't know what they were thinking, because they all know. I guarantee you they go into a room between Nadler, Schiff, and the group, and they laugh like hell at how they've kept this thing going for 2 years. They laugh like hell. And I hope that this investigation now, which is finished, it's totally finished, no collusion, no obstruction. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings of that investigation. You look at the origin of the investigation, where it started, how it started, who started it, whether it's McCabe or Comey or a lot of them. Where does it go? How high up in the White House did it go? You will all get Pulitzer Prizes, okay? You're going to all get Pulitzer Prizes. You should have looked at it a long time ago, and that's the only thing that's disappointing to me about the Mueller report. The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges, how it started. the beginnings of the investigation, how it started. It didn't cover that, and for some reason, none of that was discussed. Now, if you look at the IG report, it's very serious. Now, we have another IG report coming out, hopefully very soon. And I think you're going to learn a lot. But you should look at the beginnings and where it started, the whole situation, because this has been a very, very bad thing for our country. The question was asked before about Russia, about Germany, about all of the different things that you and I discuss so often. This has been a very bad thing for the United States. It's been a total waste of time. But what hasn't been a waste of time is some very bad people started something that should have never been started. And I hope that's going to continue forward, because people did things that were very, very bad for our country and very, very illegal. And you could even say treasonous.
Adam was a deeply partisan person. He did everything he could to make sure that Hillary Clinton became the next president. And he's done everything he could since he failed at that to keep a cloud over the Trump presidency.
Gowdy explaining why all 9 Republicans on the Intel Committee called for Adam Schiff to resign as chairman. Let's bring in our headliner, Sean Spicer, former White House press secretary, senior advisor for America First Action. How you doing, Sean? Good morning to you, and thank you for being our headliner today. I don't think Adam Schiff's going to resign. I think that would be a shocker if it were to happen. What is your sense of the Mueller report? Whether all of it goes public or not, and whether or not Democrats then, I'm getting to it, will say this is a cover-up if every redaction is not removed from the Mueller report. Is that where we are headed, Sean?
I think that we can't let Democrats off the hook as to where they started this dialogue, which is that we need to protect Robert Mueller. He has the highest degree of integrity and professionalism, and we need to let the chips fall where they may with respect to his investigation. The chips have fallen. Mr. Mueller has made it very clear that there was no collusion. The problem with the Democrats is they dug a hole so deep they don't know how to get out of it now, and they're doubling down. The reality is that he issued his report. It said there was no collusion. Attorney General Barr has said he will release it to Congress somewhere around mid-April, and they're still not satisfied. The reality is that A, he doesn't have to do it according to law, and B, there's 2 issues with the current report. One is there's grand jury testimony, and 2, there's classified information in it. That he has to protect by law, just as he would with any other citizen. So Attorney General Barr is going above and beyond what he's required to do, and I think Democrats recognize that they're playing a losing hand, and so that the only way to do this is to pivot further away from what they originally started at, which was just allowing Mueller to investigate this issue. Once he came up with a conclusion that wasn't what they wanted, they had to pivot to something else.
So we're pretty much all on the same page here. Adam Schiff is not resigning, right? But there are still calls. Okay. But Kellyanne Conway, if you asked her, she's still going to, remain that he should. Here she is on Fox News Sunday, and then I wanted your reaction on this.
Spent more time on TV than at that committee over the last however many years, and all 9 Republican members have asked for his resignation. I certainly did it a week ago. The president has done it. He cannot be fair. That is one of the most important positions in the United States House of Representatives. He sees all of the nation's secrets, and he ought to step down.
Okay, so we haven't even actually seen the Mueller report yet, so why don't we just wait until we see it? So the Democrats have now subpoenaed this report. When this comes out, do you think that's going to change anything when it comes to Adam Schiff?
No, again, go back to what I just said a moment ago. Adam Schiff continues to talk about the fact that collusion's in plain sight. So on the one hand, the Democrats talk about how Bob Mueller was the right guy to do this, that his years of experience in this area made him unprecedentedly qualified to conduct this. And now Schiff, in the face of all of this, continues to say that not only was there collusion, but it's clearly obvious. So obvious that someone as experienced and with so much integrity as Bob Mueller, as they would have had you believe up until a week ago, couldn't find any of this. 2,800 subpoenas, 500 witnesses, and yet he couldn't find it with this team of top-notch investigators and FBI agents. But Adam Schiff sure can find it. He just can't tell you where it is, but he knows it exists.
Sean, here's the tweet from earlier today, this on the Mueller report that we're just talking about here. Now that the long-awaited Mueller report conclusions have been released, most Democrats and others have gone back to the pre-witch hunt phase of their lives before delusion took over. Others are pretending that their former hero, Bob Mueller, no longer exists. In the end, I don't know how far we push this thing down the road.
I think this is the problem. We've gotten to the point where if you think about this just for a moment, think about what the attacks of the mainstream media and Democrats were. For the longest time, it was the president was undermining these institutions that we've so grown to respect and love with all this integrity. And yet here we are with the Democrats not getting an outcome that they like on the Mueller report. So what do? They say suddenly that this individual, Bob Mueller, that they revered, his work isn't good enough. It needs to go further. We need to investigate more. We need to see all the other underlying evidence. Where is the concern about them undermining the attacks? The conclusion was clear. There was no collusion. But since they won't accept that, they continued to attack the process and the person. The same thing that the president was accused of a while back with the intelligence community. But now the shoe's on the other foot. The media and the mainstream media tends to ignore this and play patty cake with these same individuals that praised Mueller and the investigation and the need to protect it, protect Mueller, and make sure that the conclusions came out the way they wanted. But once they didn't, then they entirely flipped themselves on their argument that they had been espousing for the longest time.
We want to get your take on this report that just came out about the White House whistleblower telling a House panel about systematic security clearance, a problem there. Tricia Newbold, she's an 18-year career individual at the White House. She basically, according to Politico among them, saying that as many as 25 White House officials were granted clearance after initially being denied. You know, obviously Jared Kushner and many others were among the list of those. What do you make of the security clearance where these people were denied and then it was reversed, pressure coming from other places to get them into the White House?
Yeah. So I think there are three things that come to mind for me. Number one, this individual that the White House that the House Democrats should have protected because she was a whistleblower, pretty much outed her by saying she's 18 years in the agency. Here's exactly where she works. Here's how many years she has. Here's her gender. You might as well put her name on it. Number two, at the end of that release, they make it clear that we're not releasing the transcript. So on the one hand, they want all the Mueller report right away, unredacted, and yet when it comes to accusing the White House of something, they make it clear in their own release that they have no intention of releasing the transcript of this individual. Third, I mean, let's see what she says, but ultimately security clearances are the ultimate discretion of the President of the United States. There's a big difference, and there's always a human subjectivity to deciding who gets one and who doesn't and why. That range is a big difference, right? So if someone had, you know, a number of small misdemeanors or traffic incidences or travel or something that may have normally precluded them something, but the President deemed that based on his relationship and his knowledge of this individual or the subject that they were working on, he had no problem with them seeing relevant material. Because, you know, even at the highest level, security clearances are always within a need-to-know basis. So the question is, did the President deem the particular individuals appropriate to what they had to look at to conduct their job based on his knowledge or relationship with that individual? But we have a lot more to see, and I think that if the Democrats want to hold themselves to the same standard, then release the transcript. Let us see what this individual has to say, who the individuals were, what the accusations or the reason that they were potentially denied one for. But then we'll have a lot more information to have a useful discussion.
Okay. Sean, thank you. Said a lot there. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Sean.
Hope to see you again. Sean Spicer
guys.
reacting to all that breaking news now. Thank you.